Hello friends, welcome to my channel. Wishing you all a very happy Diwali. Today I'll be showing all the tips and tricks to prepare the perfect Boondi Laddu. Now let's get started. To begin with, we need to sieve the flour, so place a fine mash over a bowl. To which add a cup and a half of besan, which is also known as chickpea flour, followed by little rice flour, a pinch of baking soda. Now shake and sieve them together. Once that is done, discard all the granules. To this, add a pinch of orange food color. This step is optional. If you prefer to keep your laddu pale yellow in color, then skip this part. Now add about 3/4 cup of water to this flour mixture. Whisk it thoroughly to make a smooth batter without any lumps. The batter shouldn't be too thick nor too thin. It should have a thick pouring consistency. If the batter is too thick to whisk, and that's when you add in some more water to bring it to the right consistency. Batter consistency is very important. If you get the right consistency, your bundis will have the perfect roundels. If it's too thick, then the bundis will have a tail attached to them when you drop them in oil. So if it turns out too thick, add little water to make it light. If it's the other way around, if it's too thin, your bundis will turn really crisp. So adjust it with besan then. Now this is how your batter should look. Let's heat some oil and check the batter consistency. Drop a little batter in hot oil to check the shape and texture of the bundis. Check if it's right. If not, adjust with water or besan. Now scoop some batter and pour it over a perforated ladle, keeping it about 6 to 7 inches away from the oil. Once you pour the batter, either spread it or tap it gently to make it fall freely. If the oil is not hot enough, the bundis will go and sink to the bottom of the pan, and if the oil is too hot, the bundis will burn. So always check the oil temperature, sample it before you proceed to the next batch. If the oil temperature is right, the bundis should cook within few seconds, and as soon as you see the bubbles subside, just remove them from oil and set aside. And also, if you don't have a traditional bundi ladle, just use any perforated ladle from your kitchen to make these bundis. Another important step to follow in between batches is to wash and wipe clean the ladle to have a free flow of batter for the next batch. This step is optional, but if you follow this, your next batch of bundis will look perfect without any clump formation. Repeat the bundi making process until you finish all the batter and set the bundis aside. To make the sugar syrup, take a cup and a half of plain white sugar in a pan. Add 3/4 cup of water and start melting it over medium flame. For a softer and juicier version of laddu, we are looking at a single thread consistency. Typically, most North Indian laddus tend to have a texture that is soft, juicy with a sticky feel to it. Whereas South Indian laddus tend to have a texture that is much more firmer with a crystallization on top, for which the sugar syrup consistency we have to go a little further than a single thread consistency. Once the sugar syrup comes to a rolling boil and bubbles vigorously, we can start checking for thread consistency. Sample a little of the sugar syrup, holding it in between your index and thumb finger and see if it forms a thread. Once you see a single thread formation, immediately switch off for a softer version of laddus. If you wish to make firm laddus, then extend it a little longer until you see 2 string thread. Once it reaches the desired string, immediately switch off and pour the hot syrup over the boondi. Mix it well and keep this aside for it to absorb the syrup. Meanwhile, let's heat some ghee in a pan and fry the cashews and raisins. You will need some cashews, raisins, melon seeds, cloves, edible camphor and some powdered cardamom. When it's hot, add the cashews and fry until it's golden. Then add the raisins and cloves as well. The rest doesn't have to be fried, it can go directly onto the boondis. Pour this mixture over the boondi and mix well. For a single thread soft version of laddu, the boondis might take up to 3 to 4 hours to absorb the syrup and to crystallize. You may start shaping the laddus within an hour of pouring the syrup and let it rest to firm up a bit. Whereas for the 2-thread consistency, the crystallization happens at a much faster rate. So start shaping those laddus within 15 minutes of pouring the sugar syrup. And now it's time to shape the laddus, and this is how you shape. You just take a portion of it and press it with your palm to shape them into laddus. We at home enjoy the firm South Indian style laddus. I've gone in for the 2-thread consistency. You can very well see how the sugar has crystallized while I'm shaping the laddus. If for some reason, if it's too dry to shape them into laddus, you can always take a portion of the boondi, grind it in a mixer and then shape them into laddus. It should come out easily. This recipe roughly yields 25 laddus, about 1.5 inches in size, making it the perfect measure for beginners to try and learn. I hope I have covered everything in this laddu making process. If you still have any questions or if I have missed out anything, please write to me, or you can post your questions under the comment section and I'll try to answer them as much as possible. Hey friends, please do try this recipe at home and share your feedback in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. And once again, wishing you all a very happy and prosperous Deepavali. Thank you.